I feel like a lot of what we do as experimenters has a lot of parallels with how children learn about the world. So I think if I was forced to think about what toy I would recommend for experimenters, it would probably be a marble run. Marble runs for the win.
Welcome to nohacks.show, a weekly podcast in which smart people talk to you about better online experiences. This is another episode done in partnership with Experimentation Elite. Experimentation Elite is the UK's premier experimentation and CRO experience taking place on June 11th and 12th in Birmingham. So head over to experimentationelite.com and get your ticket now. And today I'm excited to have Erin Weigel here with me. Erin is a UX expert, principal designer, and senior design manager who turned lessons from working in a toy store into groundbreaking design strategies. Erin's here to chat about her new book and upcoming workshop at Experimentation Elite. Erin, welcome to No Hacks Show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sonny.
So good to have you here. So, you worked in a toy store, and we have to talk about that. My question about the toy store is, which toy would you recommend parents for their kids if they wanted to become experimenters one day?
I love this question because I do love toys. And I feel like a lot of what we do as experimenters has a lot of parallels with how children learn about the world. So I think if I was forced to think about like what toy I would recommend for experimenters, it would probably be a marble run. Do you know what marble runs are? Those things that you build up and you put the marbles in it and then you can have them go down, or they can go into a bucket and swirl around, because you can build them up as many ways as you want, but there's like a lot of cause and effect things. You can make these weird Rube Goldstein kind of creations, and that's what I would recommend. Marble runs for the win.
And by the way, YouTube has a lot of rabbit holes. Marble run rabbit hole is not the worst one you can fall into. I'll just tell you that. So there's so many channels. Have you seen them?
Sure you've been oh yeah. Have you gone to the magnet rabbit hole as well too? Buckyballs, those magnets?
No, I have not. Should I?
Absolutely. It's the coolest.
Okay,
yeah,
I will.
Buckyballs are great.
I will. So good. Now let's talk about Experimentation Elite first. Like this is like a huge event happening. We're 3 weeks after we release this episode, basically. June 11th, June 12th, like I said, experimentationelite.com. And you are doing a workshop on June 11th. So tell me about that workshop.
Ooh, I'm so excited about it. So the workshop is actually loosely based around the content in my upcoming book. And basically, it's like a fun, not like introduction, it's not like basic A/B testing things, but it's to help people get a little bit more sturdy on their legs if they're intimidated by some of the statistical concepts or the math language that, consumes us all in experimentation. So what I do is for people that are not statisticians, don't come from a math background, we are going to, analyze experiments, see what makes some good, what makes others bad, and then go through the good experimental design toolkit that comes with my book, just to help everybody learn how do you calculate an appropriate sample size, what is power, what is significance level, how do those things work together, and just like really breaking it all down, pictures, fun stories. So it's math stuff, but fun.
It's math stuff, but fun. That's a good selling point. Now, at one point, you were, let's say, just a designer doing experimentation CRO, and you decided to learn about statistics. And how has that changed your career and your outlook on the entire field?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough to learn all the math bits that I've learned through amazing people like Lucas Vermeer, that a lot of people know, and a hidden gem that a lot of people don't know named Lucas Bernardi. I think it's really helped me learn how to speak their language, and it also earned me a lot of respect, where like if I can speak their language in a way that they know that they can trust me to make the right call with the data, they're more willing to let me have direct access to the data, for example. And they are more likely to let me take take the reins, the data reins, if you will, to steer an experiment forward, because they know they can trust me with the experiment design. And then I also think it's really helped me learning that directly from them by asking stupid questions and getting funny answers and going down weird research paper rabbit holes. Then I've been able to pull out what I consider to be the fun bits that maybe get lost in academia, that you can bring into your daily work as an experimentation specialist or whatever. So that, like, I don't know, to reinforce some of these concepts that we know about, but maybe in a little bit of with a different take, if you will.
Right, of course. And you mentioned Lucas Vermeer. I just talked to him last week. Like that episode is coming out soon as well. What a great guest, what a great human being. And I cannot wait to see him at Experimentation Elite as well. So you work together at Booking.com. Like,
Yeah.
the very cool thing about Booking.com is that every single guest of this podcast, when they talk about having a CRO program, everyone says not everyone's going to have the resources of Booking.com or Netflix, but Booking.com is like always that first example that comes to mind, at least in Europe, at least to European people. What was it like being there in those early, well, not early, but those glory days of Booking.com?
It was the most fun thing ever. Like, I was always really excited to get up and go to work. And fun fact, Lucas Vermeer and I started at Booking on the exact same day. So we were like onboarding buddies. Yeah. I was just like, data science, tell me about that. Numbers? Just talk to me about numbers or whatever. So we got on pretty quick. And then Booking hired a lot of weirdos, I think, that people that had kind of broad interests and were really curious about learning different things and weren't really afraid of failure. So in a lot of ways, it was just us all working together to try to figure things out to provide a better customer experience. So that's kind of like what it was. It didn't really feel like work to me. It felt like discovering stuff and finding problems and being like a detective to figure out, did I solve it? Did I not solve it? Should I try it a different way? Or, hey, I got this evidence from over here. These customers said this. And then it was also really cool because we got to travel all around the world too. We got to do like in-person user research in different countries, different languages, see how people interact with different currencies. So it was the coolest. Let's just put it that way. It was very cool.
Have I told you about my Netflix show idea? Like last time we talked, I haven't mentioned that.
No?
One day Netflix will, because they're making documentaries about everything. Like they did a Spotify, not a documentary, like a TV show, series.
Mm-hmm.
One day they will do a docu-series, like an anthology series about experimentation programs. And if Booking is not episode 1 of season 1, I'm writing them an angry letter. So, the days of being there and just being present in that, it's not even an office, like you had like an entire building, right? And they still do. It's a huge company.
Yeah.
This is what Netflix should be doing.
I have a different show that I would like to pitch. I would like to pitch them like how they have like the Is It Cake show on Netflix?
My daughter would like to have a word, but yeah, continue, please.
My daughter loves it too. So I would like to have like a design show that's called Is It Better, or an experimentation show called Is It Better, where you have a jury of like expert panelists. That's, people have to design an experiment. They're given some research. They have to go out and they're given a crappy product that they have to improve, and they get a certain amount of time, certain amount of resources. And then at the end of it, you have to see what kind of impact did it have on the metrics? What did customers think about it? And then you decide, is it better at the end? But that's just so, me being a nerd.
That's a great idea. It when we
Netflix,
meet,
call us Netflix.
I'll tell you about my idea. I have another idea that I'll share on this podcast in about a month or two, but this is awesome. This is super cool. Who would be on the panel? Like, who do you want to be on the panel with, like, for your episode of that? Is It Better?
I think it should just be a rotating cast of characters so we get lots of different perspectives so we could see, how different people... I think it'd be great if we could have rotating chairs like The Voice or something like that. I don't know. I'm just like, there's got to be a Simon character in there.
I was going to say Gordon Ramsay, but basically that. An angry British guy yelling at everyone.
Old man, totally.
God, that would be so cool. That would be absolutely amazing. Maybe not Netflix, but we start with a smaller network and then like build it all the way to Netflix. That would be so cool.
Now we have a project now. Anyways, continuing on. Sorry.
ErinDoesThings.com. This is her problem. Obviously, she does too many things and wants to do more.
We're doing this, Sonny. We're doing this.
Hey, I don't have the domain. I don't have Sonny Does Things, but I'll register that domain. But that would be so cool. Tell me about your book, the Portuguese flag on the cover book, as I called it out on LinkedIn.
Oh, the Portuguese flag. Oh, so I wrote
That's all I see. That's literally all I see when I look at the book.
Well, I'm glad to know that it struck a chord with you in some capacity. That's very, very nice to know.
Absolutely.
Totally not intended. About my book. What about my book? It's about experimentation.
Well, do you regret it? Number one. Because a lot of people have told me, like, once they wrote a book, oh my God, I wish I never have.
Yeah, I mean, so I actually really loved it and I hated it, like most things in my life. I'm usually
Yeah.
very positive and very negative about everything that I do. It's I'm kind of all over the place. I love the creative process of digging in deep and learning things that I thought I knew that I didn't actually know very well. That really helped me approach writing the book, still with like a beginner's mindset, even though I'd had like 9, 10, 11 years of experimentation under my belt as I was writing it, you know? But a lot of the things, for lack of a better word, were kind of dumbed down that I'd learned in
Mm-hmm.
school. Like, for example, one of the things that blew my mind is I had no idea what null hypothesis testing was. Like,
Okay.
I just knew about writing hypotheses. And what I had learned was a hypothesis is actually a prediction, those if-then statements. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because I remember Lucas Vermeer blew my mind. I was like texting with him on like 11 o'clock on a Thursday night or something. And he's like, that's wrong. Like I asked him to read something. And I was like, what do you mean that's wrong? And he's like, that's a prediction. And I was like, shut your face. Like, what are you talking about? And then we had to have like a come to Jesus moment where he was like, that's my fault. And I think science teachers' fault from all over the world were like, if you don't have a science degree, the concept of null hypothesis testing and what an actual hypothesis is kind of glazed over just to keep it simple. But I really
You can't
feel like
glaze over now because there's people listening. I'm not gonna let you glaze over it now.
yeah,
You have to
no
explain
glazing
it.
over it. I wrote a book about it. There is no glazing in the book. I did it as good as
No,
I
in the
could.
podcast, in this interview, is what I mean. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just feel like the skeptical mindset that he explained to me and, you know, I feel like those are kind of core fundamental things that yes, you can shape people's behavior and get them to make decisions in a certain way without them understanding the foundations behind it. But for me, it really helped to have that mental model in my brain and to know what the words are so that way I could write better hypotheses. That way, when I designed the good experimental design toolkit that comes with the book, there's an actual basis of proper science in there, but it's not like blow your mind science. It's like, here's some stories to help you understand what this means. Don't be scared of it. It's fine, you know?
It's like a
So,
gateway to proper science, like you said. Like, to make it easy for people to get into it, which is
it's,
great, which is really, really smart.
yeah, it's fun science because
It's fun
science is
science.
fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very cool. So, what are the, let's say, top three most difficult things about the writing a book experience? Time management has to be one of them. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. But what are the other ones?
Um, you know, I missed out on a lot of fun. That was really hard.
Okay.
Like, I have a daughter and I have a partner and a dog, and they would be like, hey, you want to come get ice cream? And I'd be like, every cell in my body wants to come get ice cream with you right now, but I
Right.
have to get this thing in by tonight, and I really can't. So I had to say no to things that I knew were just going to be so joyful and great moments, but I also knew that it wasn't going to be forever. And so that was really hard to have to say no and to sit at home in my like a little gremlin in my office writing things while people were out doing. And I missed my friends too. Like I said no to a
Yeah.
lot of fun friend events. So that sucked. So the isolation
Yeah,
was
so but
very hard.
was that the reason why you wrote this during a winter period? It's like
No, I
sacrificing a
don't.
winter? No, it just happened.
Yeah, like I don't plan ahead that much. I'm just like I'll do
It was a
this, and then what happens?
very unconscious smart decision then.
Yeah, exactly. Things work out as they need to. You don't have to plan things too far in advance. But yeah, no, it was actually very serendipitous because by the time I
Hmm.
handed it in, the sun was coming out and I was started
Right.
blooming like a flower again. So it's fine.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So how long did it actually take from start to finish? How many months?
Oh, over a year. Like
Over a year.
yeah, yeah. Because I wrote like the book pitch to even figure out, well, what do I
Hmm.
want to, I had to learn how to write. Like I'm not a
Hmm.
writer. So I had to figure out how do you even write a book? What is a good book? What are the elements of a good book? I had to, pitch this idea. So like really crystallize what it is that I wanted to do that was different about all the other books that were out there. So like from the moment that I found my publisher, Rosenfeld Media, Lou Rosenfeld is an amazing human being. Until, I pitched to him, he said yes, we signed a contract, started writing, it was over a year for sure.
Wow. It's longer than I thought. I followed the journey on LinkedIn when you excitedly share the designs. Like this chapter is done, that chapter is done. Like you could feel that excitement. Like you can really relief / excitement, I would say. But I didn't know it was a year. That's a lot of. Okay.
I had to keep myself going, man. I really did. Any dopamine hit I could give myself along the way, I was doing it. I was posting.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, when's the second book coming out? Just kidding. Just kidding. Let's talk about the first one still. When is the first one coming out? Let's talk about that. Like, when is the official release date? Because it's a really cool date, right?
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. The book is actually being officially released on the day that I'm giving the Good Experimental Design workshop at Experimentation Elite. So I might even bring champagne. So if you want to join my workshop, I'm going to bring champagne. So that way on that day, we can all just like start with a little orange juice and champagne or whatever, just in the morning to say like, hey, my book is out now. You all are the first people to be able to hold a copy if you want to hold a copy, and then you can like leaf through it as we go through some stuff, and we're gonna have a good time. So that's
your
that's
elevator
the date.
pitch. If you're thinking about which workshop to attend, like there's champagne in this one. It's not just a workshop; it's a workshop / wine tasting or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So the physical books will be there. Like you'll have the books with you in Birmingham.
I think so. Yeah. I'm like 99% sure. Because I know that
Awesome.
like Jackie is working together with my publisher on potentially having some shipped over, or at least I should have some in my backpack because I'm a nerd. Like, so yeah.
That is so amazing. And the book has incredible designs all over them. That's all you, right?
Do you mean all like the pictures and stuff?
Inside the book, yeah.
Yeah, so I worked together I'm a design systems nerd. So I basically created a little design system where I made my own typeface with my handwriting because I like on all my presentations and stuff, I always use my own handwriting. And then I used a really awesome icon set called Streamline, which they have like a sketchy type of look. So that way I was able to speed up the process and say like, hey, this is, these are the color palettes, these are the typefaces, these are the icons that we can all draw from. And then from creating the loose style, I was able to pull amazing people in like Alexis O and Dewey Williams and Martin P and Sebastian Tan. Like I was tapping a whole bunch of different people into the Figma file that was just a hot mess. So it really became like a collective project. So even the writing of the book was a collective labor of love, and then illustrating it was also a collective labor of love. So I was really happy those people helped me out.
That's so incredibly cool. I mean, the second book, let's get to that now. Will it happen? Like, I know it's too early. Like, this was not even officially out, but like when you do one, how do you stop?
You're tired, and then you stop. No, I
when you
think
take a break.
This book could be terrible. Like, it could be really terrible.
Don't listen to her.
Maybe nobody wants to buy it. There's no data. We don't have the data yet, Sonny. We need the data.
That's fair. We don't have the data. Right. And we don't have the fun science yet. We'll have the fun science on June 11th in Birmingham. I know. But I have a feeling it's not going to be terrible. Like, I'm not going to go any harsher than that, but I think it's going to be good. Let's just see. Let's see what the people say.
I did my best. We'll put it that way.
For a year.
Yeah, for a whole year. I did my absolute best. But I think for a second book, I think I would have to do it when my daughter is, because I love writing. Like I always think, I could maybe write about this, I could write about that. And then now I know how to do it. So I don't feel like it would take me as long. But I think I would wait until she's maybe out of the house. And then I don't feel like I'm missing so much like family special moments, if you will. So yeah, ask me again in like, I don't know, 12 years.
Okay. I will on this podcast.
Perfect.
So let's go back to the toy store experience because, we sort of talked about which toy, Marlboro Run, all that, but that experience of working in a toy store, like it led you to experimentation. Like,
yeah, totally.
Being the toy store manager, I really want the audience to learn about that. So how do you even connect the two, like managing a toy store and working in experimentation digitally? Because it doesn't seem like there's a connection on first glance.
Yeah, there definitely is. I feel like my having an art education, because I actually started as a painter. That's what I learned how to do when I was in college. It was like color field abstraction paintings. It was all about, again, trying things, discovery, visual communication, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like a playful education to begin with. And so it was kind of like a natural transition then to say like, oh, I would love to work with toys. Like I really could relate to trying things, messing up, seeing things in different ways. So when I worked at the toy store, I was a super duper nerd and I was experimenting, I think, without even realizing that I was experimenting. I was just kind of like playing in how I saw what I was doing to learn about, the purchasing behavior of my customers to kind of entertain myself, because I was standing behind a counter between like, I don't know, 8 to 12 hours a day at a certain point. So I was just really trying to keep myself interested. But I also read a lot about like human psychology and early childhood development. And I learned that one of the core ways that kids learn is through experimentation. So a lot of it has to do with like, what happens if I push this down? What happens there? Or if I make this facial expression, what will people do back to me? So like, it's always very much about cause and effect relationships and trying things and pushing boundaries and really exploring their environment in that playful, experimentation kind of way. So I kind of like took the lead from the kids and I was like, well, what happens if I move the baby toys by the door? Like, will people come in more with babies? Or what if I move, these really awesome Swedish designer toy cars in the window? Will more dads stop and potentially come in and buy them? So I started like playing around with the merchandising and adding signs with answers to common questions that people would get when they would look at a certain product, for example. So I didn't realize it, but I was experimenting to entertain myself, as well as trying to, improve the sales and improve the customer experience, as well as doing less work. Because if I had a sign there that answered the question, people didn't have to ask me. I didn't have to interject myself. The sign just gave me information that I already knew that they wanted. So that's how the toy store and kids and painting all kind of come together.
And it all leads to the book and to the workshop that, again, both are happening June 11th. Well, the book is releasing on June 11th, of course. I cannot wait to get my signed copy. Like, I've never had a signed copy of a book by someone that I know. Like, this is going to be it is a special thing. It's absolutely incredible. So I cannot wait for that. I hope the books will be there in Birmingham. And just one last call to action to everyone listening. Experimentationelite.com. Go and get your ticket. And then Erin's workshop, you have to register separately. But do that as well, because this is going to be a killer workshop. Like, you've been working on this workshop for more than a year, if you count the book time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever been to a workshop that the author has spent a year creating? I don't think so. So maybe go and do that.
If you take into account all of the years that I've been experimenting and all that knowledge, it's been like 15 years.
There we go.
15 years of experimentation knowledge just jammed.
All lead to June 11th.
Into it.
No pressure.
Yes, exactly.
No pressure.
And champagne.
And champagne. Yes, and champagne. This is awesome. Erin, thank you so much for doing this thing on top of all the other things that you're doing at your domain in your life. This was a great episode. I'm sure everyone's learned, and I'm sure a lot of people will go to the workshop and learn even more. And to everyone listening, thank you. And please consider sharing, rating, reviewing this episode, and I'll talk to you next week.